Mutch here. I am the publisher of Elizabeth Media and the founder, and I'm also the caretaker of the Feminist Enterprise Commons, an online space where feminists with enterprises interested in collective action and community come to meet, and we talk about a lot of things. It's Wednesday, May 18th, and at least in North America, in the US and Canada, it's a long weekend happening, so this will be short. Last week, Dr. Barbara Orser, a good friend and awesome person in the women's entrepreneurship space, shared with me yet another report that for some reason didn't get a lot of play in the women's enterprise ecosystem space, at least the spaces I circulate in, which happens to be a lot of them. The study was done by McGill University students in the public policy program. As you might expect, any report on inclusivity these days, general and involving women in particular, takes an intersectional lens to the analysis, and they did this as well. However, there is one thing that is really different that they did. They pointed out another kind of another basis of exclusion, and that is being a registered women entrepreneur or being an unregistered women entrepreneur. So let's find out a little bit more about this segment. So there are about 700,000 unregistered women entrepreneurs operating in Canada, and about 40,000 of them actually have paid employees. This is almost triple the amount of women entrepreneurs with incorporated women majority owned and led firms. The report highlights the fact that these entrepreneurs, the unregistered entrepreneurs, are largely excluded from receiving women entrepreneurship strategy and ecosystem supports, like access to free incubator or accelerator programs, because they typically require incorporation as a prerequisite. Also, the programming which is often geared towards how do you get funding and how do you get a loan or how do you attract investors, is really not that much of interest to the average self-employed women entrepreneur who's not registered. Because if they were interested in that, they would have registered. It's hard to get a loan or investors without having been incorporated, either as a for-profit, nonprofit, cooperative, etc. So who are these women and why are they unregistered? And let's not confuse the term unregistered with like somehow backwater or under the radar. Unregistered women entrepreneurs pay taxes too. I know because I was one for quite a while. And these entrepreneurs state their, how do we know they exist? Well, they still state their enterprise income on their income tax returns under the heading of self-generated income. And that's, in fact, how we actually know that there are at least 700,000 of these unregistered women entrepreneurs operating in Canada. So I've been operating with women entrepreneurs in the ecosystem for, I can't believe I have to, it's been like 9 years. So in my experience, who are these women? Well, in my experience, they are, diverse as well. So many of them are just at the beginning of their entrepreneurial journey and are operating their businesses as a side hustle. And they haven't yet necessarily hit the $30,000 threshold, at which point your average accountant will suggest it's time to incorporate because there are tax benefits to doing that. There are lots of women who just don't see any advantage to registering. And by the way, there are also a lot of unregistered male entrepreneurs. So the unregistered operating practices is not something that is exclusively the domain of women by any stretch. Another reason women might not be registering is that they might not be aware of registration or what benefits there are to registration. And also, it's really not worth it to register your company as an incorporated entity in any way if you are not selling to corporations or large institutions who do require incorporation and also business insurance. So your cost servicing those kinds of clients actually goes up. The other thing to consider is that women who don't want the complexity or costs of running a registered business would not be registered. And it's for those of you who are registered, you know that corporate filings take extra time, they cost more money, and they can cost you up to $1,000. And if you want to have a notice to reader level of corporate filing for grant applications and so on, it can cost you upwards to $1,500. Plus, there's paperwork and director stuff to keep track of, and so on. So, not everybody wants that administrative headache just to run a company. And finally, I think I've already mentioned, but some women don't register because they're simply not looking to grow that big. They're not looking for loans, and they're not looking for investor funding, which is basically what a lot of the entrepreneurship programs are geared towards. So entrepreneurship is a pluriverse, and we need to help all women entrepreneurs unleash their full potential. And full potential doesn't necessarily mean growth. Full potential can just mean building an awesome, grow in place, local business with a few employees where you are earning a right livelihood, the type of livelihood you want to earn, and not really take on growing and taking on all the things that come with growing a business, including more management responsibilities, and perhaps leaving the kinds of things you like to do in the first place. Because as your business grows, you have to work more on the business rather than in the business. So what needs to be done? And what can policymakers do? Well, there's a lot in the report that talks about this. They have several recommendations, but I have a few more to add. I would basically like to encourage all incubators and accelerator programs to drop the need to be incorporated to participate in the programs. And I would also take a close look at your programming offering and determine whether or not the content and the mentoring that you're providing is actually a bit of a turnoff to women entrepreneurs who are not looking to grow fast or big. The other thing we could start doing is support alternative approaches to entrepreneurship. One reason some might not register is that the existing models just don't work for them. And they've come up with something unique that works for them in an entirely different way. Finally, also, I think on a broader level, we could use this opportunity and get to know more about unregistered women entrepreneurs to perhaps encourage policymaking and governments to start supporting founders and not just supporting their enterprises. I know that may sound backwards, but it's no secret that most founders have to find a way to earn a living while they're starting their business. And that can have sort of a deleterious effect to how quickly they might be able to grow, how quickly they can scale up, et cetera, et cetera. So what I would like to see is policies that support the founder. So why not things like founder income supports for all entrepreneurs, sort of a CERB for entrepreneurs with less income than, let's say, $30,000 a year, until their businesses get to the point where their businesses can actually afford to pay them a minimum of $30,000 a year. So what if we did that? Also, what if we created extended healthcare benefits programs for all self-employed folks, men, women, and all genders? Because basically being self-employed is a precarious situation to be in. Your income is usually lumpy, and you don't get the extended healthcare benefits that often comes with having a job, even a hamburger flipping job. So, and finally, I think we should change the narrative around self-employed and unregistered entrepreneurs. They are not any less than anyone else in terms of their contributions to the economic growth of this country. So finally, let's not have an upstairs, downstairs type of entrepreneurship policy, environment, or framework. Let's not have that type of narrative in entrepreneurship storytelling. Not every entrepreneur needs to be winning an award or building the next Facebook or even the next blow dry chain in order to be, as lovely as that is, in order to be recognized as a serious entrepreneur who makes a significant contribution to the economy, to their community, and often plays a role model to their families. So that's what I have to say today. I hope you enjoyed this issue of Lisbeth, and I will see you next time in June. Thanks for joining me. Happy long weekend. Take care.